Welcome to Sexy Mom Abundant Life with best-selling author and coach Kathy Williams, a show to help you tap into the support of the universe and access the abundance that's available in every area of your life. Listen in for conversations and tools to create more ease, joy, and possibility with family, relationships, business, and living. Kathy's joyful perspective will help you tap into your own wisdom and create a life of presence and abundance your way. Listen live on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, or anytime on iTunes or at IOM.FM.
Welcome to Sexy Mom Abundant Life, everyone. This is Kathy Williams, and I'm so grateful you're here. You know, each time I listen to the show intro, I hear something new, and I listen to it quite frequently, right? But I was just thinking about presence and how important that is to our experience of abundance. Because if we're not present, our mind is in the past thinking about something that happened, either that we loved or that wasn't quite right, and it can mull over that. And of course, thinking about the past can bring a sense of abundance, right? It can be, remember that vacation? It was so awesome, or that cup of tea with a friend, all of that. But then our mind also jumps to the future. And a lot of our future thinking is about lack, right? I don't have this. I want to get this. How do I get there? And that can be super useful if we're coming from the right energy of possibility, of the universe supports me. But a lot of times when we are not present, our thinking is coming from lack. I need this that I don't have. Whether that is someone else's approval or for this feeling of frustration or anger or sadness or whatever it is within us to go away, right? That's a sense of lack, right? I'm lacking peace. I need this, whatever I'm experiencing, to go away so I can have that peace. Or the need to get something from someone is a sense of lack. Usually stems from a sense of lack. So if you look at this in your own life, right? What if just for the next few hours, you didn't need to get anything from anybody? You didn't need life to be different from how it's showing up for you. So in essence, you're kind of riding the wave of isness, of what is, without resistance, without resisting life. There's no need to get something from somebody else. Okay. How would your life be different if you lived that way, not only for the next few hours, but into the future? Now, I can sense some hesitation. I can sense some, this person is doing this to me that I don't like. Does that mean I have to put up with it? No. I like to use the analogy of someone standing on your toe. Allowance or non-judgment does not mean that you have to let them continue to stand on your toe. Okay. Allowance would be, hey, you're on my toe. Could you move, please? Right? There's no edge to that. There's no judgment in that, right? It's just, you're on my toe. Okay. So functioning from a space of non-judgment doesn't mean you don't create change. In fact, change is usually more effortless when you're functioning from a space of non-judgment. And in one of the Conscious Luck shows, I believe it was the first one, so I talked with Gay Hendricks and Carol Klein in maybe June of 2019, and it's a great show. Or 2020, not 2019, June of 2020. It's a great show. Check it out. I think it's called 8 Secrets to Creating Conscious Luck, something like that. But his story was, he was late for a plane flight, and they had shut the doors, and there was this guy in front who had arrived at the airline counter right in front of him, furious. I'm in first class. Don't you know who I am? Really furious that he wasn't able to board the plane. And then Gay shows up, and he's kind of softened into the fact, and I was almost going to say resigned, but resigned is not the right word. Softened into the fact that, hey, okay, I'm not going to be on this plane. What other options are available? Okay. So, they're at the airline counter, and they get buzzed from the plane. Oh, we actually do have one seat available, right? And the person at the desk looks down the hall at that furious man storming off, and then gives the seat to Gay, right? There's no resistance. He didn't come to the conversation with an edge, okay? Which makes all the difference. And I recognized in my life, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, like sometimes I enter conversations with an edge, like I'm going to have to push, I'm not getting what I want. There's an edge there. You can sense that even as I say it. And I made I drew up my resolve to approach things in a different way, to drop the edge whenever possible. Now, that's not always possible. Drop the, I got to fight for myself, that I have sometimes, to see if I could soften that. And it has created miracles in my life. It has created, it's like those are the norm now. And let me give you a simple example of where I do that. When you call customer service and you're on the phone and you're waiting and maybe, I was on the phone waiting for Home Depot for 10 minutes. Which was after 3 phone calls, which was after some incompetence the day before on their end, and all of this I could use as evidence to be really irritated and annoyed. And I have to admit, I had some of that going on, right? Geez, I hate incompetence. I don't like to sit with this and this. And then I was sort of looking at okay, processing myself everywhere I've been incompetent or not doing things right, and that frustrates me. Collapse all that back to energy. Let me have some freedom. It's like it's a solidified idea. Let me let it go back to energy. And so I was sitting with myself with that, and of course, not only being on the phone waiting, but you're filling that time with other things, some deep breathing, some doing other things online, and so by the time someone answered the phone, I was, asking my questions and things, but I had dropped the edge, and I said, hey, he wanted to refer me to someone else, and I said, well, hey, I've been on the phone for 10 minutes, and I know that's not your fault, right? Immediately that softens it instead of being like, I've been on the phone for 10 minutes, and you guys are now going to transfer me to someone else. So I know that's not your fault. And that, to me, is one of those beautiful phrases where it's like, I'm telling you what is, and I know it's not your fault. But now you can help see my vantage point a little bit more. I do not want to be transferred to yet another person and maybe have a phone call dropped or have her not call me back, which was actually the case the previous day. All of this. And just letting go of the judgment, right? Because there's a judgment. Things should be different. I should not have to wait 10 minutes. Like that guy at the airline counter. Things should be different. They should open that door for me so I can get on the plane. All right. Well, this is what is. And you want to fight what is? When we soften into what is and be with that and not push against that, it allows all their possibilities to open up. And again, that doesn't mean you have to settle. Okay? Doesn't mean someone has to remain standing on your toe. It doesn't mean you have to, be transferred if you don't want to be. It's just allowing yourself to drop the resistance. No, sometimes. I'm not going to say that resistance is never required. Sometimes it is, but we have to look at, this is one of my favorite questions. We have to look at, am I coming from ego or am I coming from spirit? Because if we're coming from ego, the small self, okay, very different from coming from a place of, I'm doing this for more than just me, right? Like Gandhi, right? The resistance against the British government in India. It's coming from a place of love for his people, not for pushing against for the individual I. Because the qualities of ego are very different from the qualities of spirit. When we're experiencing emotions, when we're experiencing thoughts, we can look at, is this coming from ego or spirit? Ego is fear-based. Ego is defensive. Okay? It wants to maintain its small, individuated, quote, power. And we'll get into empowerment in a little. I have a totally different perspective on empowerment than a lot of people. It's reactive, right? It gets triggered. And I'm not saying like I'm all there yet, right? You heard that I wasn't happy being on the phone with Home Depot, but it's like the more we can catch ourselves where we're in this defensive, reactive, fear-based energy and shift to loving, to receiving what is, to allowance or the space of non-judgment. We tap into more of our being, not our identification with something that we're not even, right? The ego is based on identification with a story, the story of I, the story we've had since birth. And that could be argued. I can't really say it's from birth. Maybe it's from age 1.5 or something when we start to say mine. And then we could even say, it even began in past lives. Cool, right? We have all of that, all of those different considerations. But the main thing is when we're identifying with that story, it's a limitation. Right? It's based on, in second grade, I wasn't good at math and this person was mean to me, so I don't like that kind of person and I'm still not good at math. It's like this story of restriction and limitation and multiple stories, we could say. And spirit doesn't have those stories. Spirit has possibilities. Spirit has loving kindness all the time. Okay? You could refer to this as your higher self. You could refer to this possibly as your bliss body. But it's the larger aspect of who you are, beyond identification of this traumatic event happened to me, and I have to unwind that. Right? Now, when we have memories, we're going to go to break in a moment, so I don't want, but I'll just pour this in for a second. When we have traumatic memories arise, it's not a bad thing. We don't need to say, well, that's just my ego and that's my story. I'm going to give you some tools to deal with that and with the uncomfortable emotions that arise as well. Because pushing at it and saying, well, that's not real anyway, can be spiritual bypassing, right? I'm going to ignore that feeling or ignore that memory that causes deep pain for me. Not so useful. Okay? So in the next part of the show, I'll show you some interesting and different ways of working with that really create a lot of freedom. And just before we go to break, I'd love to answer your questions about this, or if you have show ideas or whatnot, send them over to meetkathywilliams.com. So go to meetkathywilliams.com. On the radio page, there's a great way to get in touch with me.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to Sexy Mom Abundant Life. I'm so grateful you're here. As a listener, you can pop over to meetkathywilliams.com and get 20% off any item in the shop, including videos, energy pulls, even private sessions, by entering the code SMRadio. Also at meetkathywilliams.com, you can download a free Create Your Life exercise and join me for online classes and Hawaii retreats. And if you're stuck, helping you get unstuck is my specialty. I'd love to work with you one-on-one.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #alone together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Sexy Mom Abundant Life, everyone. This is Kathy Williams, and I love hearing from you. I would love for you to reach out, and social media is a great place to do that. So Facebook, I'm on Instagram, Kathy Williams Public Figure. YouTube is one of my very favorite places. I love to record short videos and long videos and post them on YouTube. So Kathy Williams Public Figure, and of course, meetkathywilliams.com is where I have all my classes listed, and you can work with me one-on-one and have all sorts of products in the shop for more freedom in your life, because that's what I'm about. And so the conversation has been about dropping resistance and talking about ego versus spirit. Where am I functioning from? And yet, even when we're functioning more and more from spirit, there are times when traumatic memories will arise, or deeply hidden incidents, things that we didn't want to look at, things that were painful, and we buried them away. From time to time, those will arise, and I talked about the fact that we don't want to push them away as, oh, that's just my story. Now, just allowing it to exist, kind of like being the parent to what you're experiencing, right? If your child is upset, you're not going to say, oh, well, some people do. If you're compassionate, you're not going to say, oh, you shouldn't feel that way, right? And so we can be that kindness toward ourselves when something painful has arisen and we're sad about it. I had a teacher once, he said, Kathy, if you use this one question, you're going to awaken quickly. Your spiritual growth will be fast. And the question was, what quality of love is required here? So what does that mean? Well, love has qualities like kindness, non-judgment, gentleness. Sometimes love even has ferocity. If a child is running into the street, or if someone is being, shaking your child or doing something terrible, you might be fierce. So love has, let's say love is like an umbrella, and it has all these different qualities. What quality of love is required here as I'm experiencing this sadness? What quality of love is required here? In the anger at this injustice, that this person really shouldn't have sexually abused me. Okay? The quality of love is required now. Because here's the thing. Only now is real. Yes, at the time that trauma happened, right? I'm not saying the trauma is not real. The trauma is real. But you are not in that experience now. So what quality of love is required now? Returning to the fact that only now is real. You're the adult. You're no longer the child. You're no longer in that disempowered position that you were in. You're no longer, even if that disempowered position occurred 3 weeks ago, right? You're not in that right now. So a couple of hand positions are super useful for helping remind your body and your nervous system that you're here now. And the first one I'm going to share is really good for helping bring the blood back to your frontal cortex. Because when we're stressed out, what happens is more blood is in the limbic brain, or the and the amygdala, that fear part of the brain, is activated. And so if you'll put a hand right across your forehead, the fingers above one eye and the palm above the other eye, and just breathe and be with that trauma, not trying to push it away, just being present, and also recognizing that only now is real, and I'm an amazing, empowered adult right now. And if you'll be with that traumatic incident, as much as it wants to kind of arise, for 3 to 5 minutes, you can even put a hand on the back of your head as well. This is great for children too, even if they're upset, angry, whatever. Just breathing, kind of relaxing down into the belly, and reminding yourself, only now is real. But not trying to push away emotion. A lot of that is sort of dancing when we try to push it away, like, I shouldn't be feeling this. We're being flippant. Now, that's not that you have to go down and be dramatic, and but we're just allowing what is to arise and fall away. And sometimes this includes the emotions that you weren't really even allowed to feel, or you were made wrong for as a child. We know we're not our story. You're nothing that arises or falls away, right? All of the emotions we have, all of the thoughts, all of the roles we have are simply temporary. They're not who you really are. Okay? Who you really are is the vastness of awareness. And that vastness of awareness was the same when you were 2 as when you were 12. That vastness of awareness was the same then as it is now. You are nothing that comes and goes. Anything that comes and goes can't be what you are. It can be what you're experiencing. Kind of like a movie screen. The movie screen has dramas come and go. But none of it can arise without the screen. Your life has elements that come and go. And none of it can arise without the vastness of your being. Okay? And if you think about that analogy, the screen doesn't judge. Oh, this character, was reactive. They should be calm. This character should have handled that better. There shouldn't be anger going on. There shouldn't be war. There shouldn't be these two people should not be lovers, right? The screen allows all of it. It's all experience. So too, the true you doesn't judge anything that arises in your life, saying, well, this is good and this is bad. It just allows all of it to be. But the more you start to identify with yourself as the vastness of awareness, the easier things become. There's a sense of clarity, there's a sense of ease, there's a sense of relaxation that arises because you're no longer identified as this so much, as this thing that has to push for its own way or prove or defend itself. Now, there still will be that for a while. But the more you recognize that I am not that which comes and goes, I am nothing that happens to me. I am not my story. I'm not my identification with I'm a smart person or I'm not a smart person. I'm too sensitive. I'm whatever. Okay? I'm a hypochondriac. I'm a parent. Right? Like the less you identify with all of that, the more you recognize that all of that is temporary. It's not who I am. The less things trigger you. Okay? Someone's opinion doesn't matter so much. Your own opinion doesn't matter so much. Okay? And I gave a tool that's super, like it's a shortcut tool for starting to become more aware of this in the show called The Mirror is Your Friend. Because sitting in front of the mirror, looking into your own eyes, recognizing and reminding yourself, I am not that. I am not my story. Even, I am not my ego. Any thoughts, feelings, emotions that arise is a really powerful practice. So powerful that I did a whole show about it. Because you start to recognize that even more, that you don't really need all of these outward things to make you happy. The achievements, the proving, the success, the approval of other people. All of those are like icing. They're great. Nothing wrong with those. But there's a deeper sense, like a foundation of happiness, that none of those other things could ever bring you because they're temporary. You know that those could go away. But that deeper happiness is you already. I was going to say within you. It's not even within you. It is you. It's just been covered up by all these thoughts, feelings, emotions, needs, need to prove, need to get, need to get rid of. And so returning to the idea that I am not my story. I am nothing that comes or goes. But I don't have to push against anything that comes or goes either. Right? Allows you to tap into more of your essence, which allows you to tap into the information and the answers you need without quite so much stress. And then there's this element of, again, returning to the emotions. right? Sometimes a trauma arises. We talked about one strategy, putting hand in front and back and of the forehead and the back of the head. Another would be to place your dominant hand on your heart area or the center of your chest, and the non-dominant hand on your solar plexus, reminding yourself by touching your body that you're here now. Because when we're triggered, oftentimes we get really head-oriented, on alert, challenged. Returning to the body, returning to this moment is super useful. I am here. I found it useful to use that. I am here. I am here. I am here. Which is something that was from Paul Selig and the Guides. He's been on the show as well. Such great conversations, such great information from Paul Selig and the Guides. But having this tactile experience of dominant hand on the chest and non-dominant hand on the belly, right? The dominant hand is more active, right? The non-dominant more passive. And so you're reminding the solar plexus that's overactive to chill out and come back to the heart. What quality of love is required here? And then being that for yourself and for any other people involved. So with that, we go to break. When we come back, I'll share a few more points and strategies on tapping into your true nature and being an allowance of yourself and what's arising. Thanks for listening to Sexy Mom Abundant Life, everyone. I'll be back in just a moment.
The future of Internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Hey everyone. Thanks for listening to Sexy Mom Abundant Life. I'm so grateful you're here. As a listener, you can pop over to meetkathywilliams.com and get 20% off any item in the shop, including videos, energy pulls, even private sessions, by entering the code SMRadio. Also at meetkathywilliams.com, you can download a free Create Your Life exercise and join me for online classes and Hawaii retreats. And if you're stuck, helping you get unstuck is my specialty. I'd love to work with you one-on-one.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Sexy Mom Abundant Life. It's Kathy Williams, and I'm so glad you're here. Today's conversation is about tapping into your true nature, becoming untriggerable. And one of the ways to do that is actually by thanking your triggers. Okay? Thanking them for showing up and showing you where you've still got contraction, where you've still got like, this shouldn't be. And I know we're not inviting more triggers. We're just thanking the ones that show up because they are helping you unlock your freedom. Okay? If I'm still triggered by my mother or by my ex or by my child, there's something there in me to look at. So triggers are really actually a gift. And if you can see them that way, you won't be quite as resistant to them. Now, we talked a little bit earlier in the show about ego. Ego can't exist without resisting life. Rupert Spira says that the very act of resisting life is ego. So give that a little thought. The very act of resisting life is ego. Ego it's not there without it. And let's explore this a little bit because I found it to be such a useful, interesting exploration. So I'm going to invite you to think of an upset, and not one that makes you like the most crazy-making upset in your life, but think of an upset that sort of brings some contraction to your jaw or your chest or wherever it is. And now ask, without imagination, and this is the key, you're not going to imagine anything. Where is the I that's upset? Where is the I that's upset? And look for it. And, you could substitute where's the I that's angry or sad or whatever it is, but you look for that. Now, some of you I know will go to your inner child because I've done that myself and lots of my clients have, but we're without imagination. Where is that I? And as I work with clients, a lot of times they get puzzled and they're like, I can't find it. And the upset has gone away. Yeah, because that I that has the upset does not exist. Only an idea. It's not real. Cool. It can't exist without resistance. Another way to access the space of your being, right? So that's a great way, what we just did before we jump to the next one. That's a great way, again, to work with frustration, pushing against, all of that. Like, where is that I that's pushing against? Where is that I that's upset? And so often, like 90% of the time, it will just dissipate the upset too as you look for that I. And you tap into more of the space of your own being. Now, one way I often help clients tap into that space is as you're listening to me, Usually you're identified with listening or with the information. But what I'd like you to start to do as you're listening to me now is listen for what is listening. Like, become aware of what or who is listening. Okay? And as you listen for that or look for that, notice what shows up for you. Notice how your experience changes as you listen or look for the listener. How life changes. And so as you're able to do that, right, when you're listening to music periodically, sense who is listening, what's listening. When you're watching TV, watching Netflix, what is listening? It's a very different way of being in the world, but it helps you tap into the spaciousness of your own being. That's not dependent on life going a certain direction or being a certain way. And again, as you nestle into that spaciousness, then allow the spaciousness to be your friend. I used to say it's like the larger you gifting to the smaller you, to the body-oriented you. Because it's like your life becomes guided by this presence. That's also you. It's not you. You could refer that to that as your higher self, if that works. So this loving, constantly loving, never not loving part of you, sort of directing you around the obstacle, directing you to the events and circumstances that are going to make a difference. And so I'd love to bring in the idea of manifestation here, because a lot of the time we are trying to do manifestation from the small self, the me-oriented self. And yet the larger you has more awareness of what's actually going to make you happy, and what's actually aligned with the truth of you. Okay. So, for example, my small self. When I'm a ballerina, getting major roles, I'll be so happy. That'd just be the best thing on earth. Okay? So I go that direction. I become a ballerina. I start to get major roles. I am freaking miserable, stressed out, on edge, not sleeping, physically maxed out, right? Not such a happy experience. Okay. The larger you knows more of the full picture. So listening for the listener, or recognizing that you are not your story. You are nothing that comes and goes. You are that ever-present awareness of being. The more you tap into that, the more your life is guided by that, aligned with that. And magic opens up. So another way of tapping into that, which is super simple, is not to push thoughts away But just sort of exhale your thoughts and see if you can be thoughtless for 5 to 10 seconds. So just giving your thoughts back to life. And the first time I heard this exercise, it was from Bentinho Massaro, and he said, could you do it if your life depended on it? Could you give your thoughts back to life? Exhale them and be thoughtless. Have no thought for 10 seconds. If you could do that, it means you can. And it's a useful exercise for just tapping into the space of being. Because usually there's so much chatter and clutter in our head. And that chatter and clutter just kind of clogs. It's like pipes clogging the pipe. I have a class coming up that I'd like you to know about. And it's so new, it's so fresh. It's been gestating for a while, but it doesn't have a name yet. It is about empowerment, because to me, empowerment is not, I need to push for my rights to get the same rights as other people. True empowerment comes from you. And it's, I have the ability to choose my state and be in spaciousness, no matter what other people are doing around me, right? If I had had that when I was a ballerina, probably could have been happy dancing all those roles. And even in that quote unquote stressful environment. Because the thing that creates the biggest stress is between my two ears. And so in this class, we're going to explore true empowerment and your ability to shift the triggers and the challenges and the contraction into more spaciousness. And it's gonna, like, this is gonna be something that if you come with us for an hour and a half, your life will be irrevocably better by doing it. And if you do it, it will be. And it's on December 31st. And you can find out more at meetkathywilliams.com/upcoming. The last day of 2020, opening 2021 with true empowerment, which is based on your ability to stay present and joyful and happy and even blissed out or in peace, no matter what other people are doing around you. So I hope you'll join us. And either way, use these tools. What quality of love is required here? Am I functioning from ego or spirit? You can replace your own words. Those are the ones I use. You could say, am I functioning from my small self or my larger self? Listening for the listener. Exhaling, giving your thoughts back to life. Recognizing I am not my story. I'm not anything that comes or goes, and that presence that has always been. And softening your edge, releasing the resistance. And that little phrase I said, I know it's not your fault, but. Another one that softens communication is, I'm confused. Can you explain this? Right? It gets people on your side. And there are really no sides. We're all in this together, and the people who challenge and trigger us are enormous gifts. Thanks for listening, everybody. I look forward to being with you next Thursday. Thursdays on IOM.fm. And if you can't wait that long, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. I have lots of fun tools up there. And check out meetkathywilliams.com. Thanks so much for listening. Happy end of 2020, beginning of 2021. And come join me, meetkathywilliams.com/upcoming.